Ace, king, queen, 10 with a suit. I'm just blocking all sorts of good hands. This was a cutoff raise first in. I think I could also flat this hand. Not having an ace high suit makes me like this play a lot less. I flop top pair with a blocker to some flush draws and a gut shot. This sort of board, I don't think I'm going to bet a lot three ways, so I'm going to check. And then there are going to be some runouts where I'm going to be able to do some stuff. Like, how about a jack of clubs? All right, so again, facing a full pot bet, this isn't really the idea behind my pre-flop 3-bet. I'm going to tag this hand for pre-flop. I mean, we can look at post-flop too, but I think three ways it's probably fairly straightforward. I guess I was technically chopping with the ace-queen, right? Nobody had better at the time. So the button bet very... Let's see, what did they bet? No, display last hand. Okay, so they had a 9. They had the same gut shot as I did. They basically had the same hand, but they had a 9 instead of a queen. And they did have a backdoor flush draw, which I believe I did not. So, yeah, that's, That's, let's see, pot size bet with middle pair plus gut shot plus backdoor flush draw, three ways in 3-bet pot IP. Okay, so that's it's very liberal, very aggressive. I will raise. This is probably a decent 4-betting hand if I were to get 3-bet, but that would be more like the player on my right who's been doing stuff like that I would be like, all right, slow down. Now this player, I think, is going to do a lot of bluffing, so I'm going to allow them to do that. And what shall I do here? All right, one more free card. 5's not the best. I have the 7. It is blocking the straight. They still can have a 3. They can have pocket 5s, pocket 6s, jack, whatever. But I think they can still have a lot of nonsense. And I guess they made a boat, so joke's on me. But, you know, sometimes we get a read and then try and take action based on that read, and it doesn't end up being the best action. That's okay, right? We just, let's examine that hand later. Review. Maybe full pot size bet I should fold. Here, this is actually a really nice flop for my range, so I'm going to go ahead and bet. I'm not blocking any of the pairs, but I do have a lot of backdoors, so there's going to be cards I can barrel on. That gives me backdoor diamonds. It's going to make it really hard to get them to fold anything but like king 5, so I'm mostly just going to give up here. If I catch a diamond, then, and now, like, they can have, like, I'm going to bet quarter pot and kind of look like I'm just trying to get called by, like, ace king or whatever. I was thinking I want queen jack 10 to fold, but really I want, you know, a king, something like that to fold. So I'm going to mark that. I did have 9s, which I think could have been good. I think 9s might have been good there. And now I have aces. My two opponents are very deep with one another, so that might play to my advantage if I end up getting in a 3-way 3-bet pot, because then I will be able to put a lot of pressure on the flop. Or, you know, they both saw that situation coming, and so they just fled in terror. They're just like, no, we're not getting into any of that. We're just going to fold right now. I will mark this person as, I'm going to use purple now. I think it's maybe stands out more. I'm not sure. This is a beautiful hand. Let's not forget there's going to be a lot of not beautiful flops. You know, 10, king, jack, jack with hearts and clubs. Oh my. You know, it's just like a lot of good flops for this hand. Mostly, I'd like a queen and a 9, or a jack, or, you know, some clubs, including maybe the ace of clubs. That's a pretty good flop, right? I have, it's not great though. I have an open-ended straight draw. I am blocking middle pair, so I'm going to go ahead and bet. It being queen high means maybe I should do a lot of checking. I pick up a flush draw, and I guess I could keep barreling. I don't think I'm getting better hands to fold that much, and I don't think I'm really pushing equity at this point. I think they can have like a queen, whatever. And again, I'm going to make one of these kind of goofy small bets on the river. And Yeah, I get called by, okay, queens and fours. Maybe they fold a queen. Maybe they call with like worse than jacks even, like a 10. I was blocking a 10, so I kind of don't like it because of that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It was a little goofy. River bet was a little goofy. Let's mark that. I'm marking more hands for post-flop than pre-flop today, which is interesting. Ace, king, king, 3. A good 3-betting hand, right? I have a suited ace with my kings, so I'm blocking a lot of 4-betting hands, and, you know, I have a suited ace. Now, when this hand gets 4-bet, I think it usually just folds. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and this one we're going to look up for pre-flop. And eventually we'll win a hand, don't worry. Tag hand in progress, pre-flop. 8-8-6 with clubs. These players are deep, right? So again, that, you know, if I had just gotten called there, I was going to maybe be able to leverage that fact against them as they were going to put kind of the existence of the other player with the big stack in a big 3-bet pot was going to make things a little, potentially make things uncomfortable. But unfortunately, I got raised off my equity, and I will put that as strange hand. You know, that player had been very aggressive, but I think they've kind of toned down. I think they might just be like a standard decent player. Let's see, the Ethical Panda says, they fled in terror. I think it's helpful to tell the story of what people are doing. It's funny, but also helps me conceptualize what's going on. Even if it's a little bit overstated. Yeah, just a little bit overstated. There's a bunch of T's there, so it'd be a little bit overstated. I don't know. I think I pronounced it with the intent of the spelling. If not phonetically. So yeah, I think telling ourselves a story, you know, even when in a hand like that, you know, maybe they just didn't have anything. But I prefer Flood and Terror. All right, we get a button call, and then another call, and we'll just take a flop. And I've got a gut shot, right? I have a pair of 3s, not fantastic. I have a gut shot to the nuts, a 4. The 4 will put larger straight draws on board, so I think it's important to kind of differentiate between like deuce 3 and 3-4, right? If I had 3-4, then a deuce isn't going to put a bunch of better straight draws on board. Whereas if I have the hand I have, 2-3, and a 4 comes, then a 6-7-8 can make a bigger straight. Always if you get counterfeited, right, I have 3-4 and a deuce comes, then a 3 or a 4 comes, then that's not great. But I'm just talking about when you complete your straight, and then there's all these other cards, which also means if I have 2-3 and a 6-7 or 8 come, then I'm no longer drawing to the nuts with my gut shot. And then this one I think is also a 3-bet. Not positive. Maybe I need a 10. I don't know. Maybe single suited. This is, I might be getting a little bit carried away with some of these. We'll see. All right, so do I want to be going 1 street, 2 streets? How often am I going to bet this flop? I don't think I'm going to bet this flop often at all. I'm actually going to check, and they're going to bet, and then I'm going to jam, and that's how it's going to be. And if they have a 6, you know, hurrah for them. I have top 2 and backdoor flush draw. I think that's pretty strong here. They have a mega wrap. I like their hand on the flop, actually. 50-50, though. 50-50. So I was pushing a little bit of pre-flop equity, I believe. Yeah, no, it said so. So we'll look at pre-flop, and we can discuss post-flop, too. I kind of like how I played it post-flop. Although, if I had potted and they'd called, then I could have jammed turn, but they might have just jammed anyway. This I'm not really sure what to do with. I think this might be a cold call. The 9 gives me pause. Like the 9 and the king don't play great together, but I'm going to cold call. I like that the other players are both kind of loose passive. I think there's going to be a lot of good post-flop scenarios in this setup. So even if it's a little bit loose, having the 9 as opposed to a card that connected with the king in a way that can make a nut straight, I'm okay with it. I'm going to tag hand in progress for pre-flop. They go 3/4 pot on the flop, and I've got second pair, right? I can't beat a queen. I've got a gut shot to the nuts, and no backdoor flush draw even. So I'm just going to fold. I'm blocking a lot of draws, so that means when they bet, they're more value heavy. So that's bad too, in terms of like any chance my jacks are good. So I see Ethical Panda in the chat, the Ethical Panda, not just any old Ethical Panda. Okay, aces versus kings versus jacks, and then queens come on board because of course, right? Of course. 10 with a suit and an 8-6. But yeah, so we're gonna do a raid of the Ethical Panda at the end. They're gonna be playing some PLO 10, and I believe talking about something. Okay, let's see. How's this gonna play? I think this sort of hand, I really don't know. We're very deep, which I kind of like. So I'm going to call. I feel like being deep, if I were to flop a set, you know, the upside would be so high. Now I have the 4th nut flush draw. I still have 10s. I don't think they're going to have some king. They're going to have some ace. This board has to be a little bit scary. They bet 2/3. I also have an 8. So I think I have a lot of ways of improving. A 10, a club, an 8. And there's some chance, not that my hand is best, but then I'm going to be able to kind of push them off some equity. Okay, now I make 2 middle pair, right? Middle 2 pair. And they're still betting. So top set is still a very real possibility. I'm going to call again, though. I've got what might be the best hand and a lot of chances to make a better hand. And they check. If they have... Okay, so they can have king. They can have ace. What am I getting value from? Ace, I guess. If they have ace, they probably have clubs, in which case they're a little less likely to call. Now, I did say I like being deep, but do I want to play for stacks on a... I feel like this is a great spot for them to go for a check raise, actually. So I've got... It's hard to say whether it's a monster under the bed thing or whether it's like legitimate, I'm playing Pot Limit Omaha. Am I overvaluing the chance that they have kings? I really like a check here with kings in their spot. Basically trying to get me to bluff with missed draws. So I'm going to check it back. I do think they have aces here a fair amount. And if we weren't so deep, I would put it in. They did have aces. They did not have the nut flush draw. So they might have called with that combo of aces. They might have called with any aces just because. If we weren't so deep and I had like $30 left, then I can just bet that. You know, so that's definitely a spot against certain players that I want to be going for value there on the river. Here, I think with this monotone hand, I don't think I would raise this rainbow, and two-tone I think might even be close, so I'm going to go ahead and fold it one-tone. Queen 10-9-7, I believe this is going to be a raise. All right, the Ethical Panda says PLO 10 and talking about anti-heroes. Oh, anti-heroes, yes. That sounds good. I am interested. This would have been pretty good for the last hand. And basically, okay, but let's go to the present. What do I have? I've got queen high. What am I drawing to? Straight. And what am I blocking? None of the things that are good. So this is just, to me, this is just like a classic give up. Against certain types of players, you could just stab one time. And if they check the turn again, maybe I just put in like a little bet. And it's just like, all right, if you just want to fold all your air, that's fine. We need like different hands to bluff on each street. And I basically have a 0 equity hand, so bluffing and getting raised off my equity costs nothing. I don't think I'm really getting raised by hands that are worse than mine anyway. I mean, they would probably have like the ace of diamonds, and that beats my queen high anyway. Okay. I feel like there's been a lot of action already, right? Like, this has been a very eventful session. Part of it's because the player on my right is so aggro, but part of it's been a little shorthanded. All right, let's talk about... So this is that 3-4, but it made a 6-5 deuce. I'm just going to go ahead and... I could just bet $1, but I'm just going to pot it. I'm comfortable building a big pot. I've got the king high flush draw, right? There are 7, 8, 9, and then the 3 and the 4 to bring bigger straights. So I'm not super broken up to get folds. I'm trying to bet a little bit more in that spot. I could just mostly check range. That would be another way to go. I don't think this is good enough to raise or play at all. So, King 9, 7, 3. Not a good hand, right? I don't know. I'm feeling a little off today. Or I was when I woke up. I guess actually playing, I feel fine. There have been a lot of spots. And yeah, it's hard not to keep thinking about that hand where I was pretty confident they had aces a lot of the time, but I wasn't super confident I'd get value from them. And then just like kings can definitely be trapping. So I tried to logic through it, and maybe kings are a good check because I should value bet against aces. Okay, if the 4 were a 6, I believe I would play this hand. I think it can be played for a 3-bet. It also might make a decent flat, but with the 5 and the 4 not quite having the connectivity I want, I'll mark it. This is going to be a long session review. I might do like mostly session review this session, since there's so many hands. Ooh, okay, this is new. This player here, we will move their thing. No, it's a little too high, right? There we go. That's better. All right. All right. And again, any HUD feedback? Let's see. Does that look? This is okay. Let's bring that up a little. Let's make it level with the bottom of their thing. Okay. Should be about right. And if you're not sure, if you use Poker Tracker 4, which I have an affiliate link if you want to check it out in the YouTube description and or one of the panels on Twitch. If you're not sure how to like move your HUD panels around, you just hold Control, you press Control, and then you click and drag. Alternately, up at the top, there's a thing that this will probably show up. The top one says Unlock Layout, and then then you can relock it later. All right, this is not quite good enough. I'm gonna fold. Maybe I'll make a video on Poker Tracker 4 at some point. Kings with a deuce 7 is not very good, but it can flop some very good hands. They're not usually going to have very robust equity, so I'm actually just going to fold facing a raise. If this player had just called or folded, I probably would have put the 50 cents in. I think it's worth seeing for 50 cents. Queen Jack 7 kind of board. Let's see. The pre-flop raiser can have some rundowns that smash this pretty hard. The out of position player leads out. So I would say they have wraps and they have sets. Probably not even bottom set, like top, maybe middle set with a queen also. A player like this, 26-17, when they lead out multi-way for full pot on a board like that, it's just a very big hand, almost always, right? When this other player leads out, we saw that they might have middle player, gut shot, and a backdoor flush draw in a very big pot. But most players are going to have something stronger there. So, queen, queen, 5-4 king. All right, nut flush, which is not the nuts, but you just call it ace high flush in that spot. I think this hand might actually be a flatting hand if there's a raise ahead of me. I am going to raise. And then I'm thinking about what do I want to do against a 3-bet. I think in position, I'm happy to call a 3-bet. Out of position, probably also, but it's a little less comfortable. All right, so I flop top pair, top kicker, cool. I have the wrap, and I'm blocking the nut flush draw, right? So I was definitely going to bet this hand. I could play it a little bit more aggressively, but now that they full potted, so that says to me they probably have a strong hand. I'm going to call because I have a lot of outs, right, to the nuts, like this one. And here, now, do I want to just call or do I want to get it in? They can have Jack 10 and spades. If I call, and then I'm just going to get it in because against this player, I think that's, I'm in very good shape. They're not snap calling, so I think they probably don't even have the nuts. They didn't. It's possible that they folded some equity. It's possible that I just had them crushed and I could have let them bet the river. I was going to have blockers if the board came out, like if it paired or a spade came. And if we both had the straight, then having those blockers is really nice. Because one, if they decide to go ahead and bet, it's easier for me to call, kind of hero call with my straight. Whether I want to do that or not, it's, I don't know, there's a discussion. But it's, if I am going to do it, I want the blockers, right? And it also means that I had one really cool hand where it was a spot like that, and I was very confident that my opponent had the straight with me. They weren't a player like this, right? They're a more straightforward player. So I just called with the straight, with the nuts. They had the nuts, and then the turn, I think it, or the river either paired. I think it paired the board, and so I decided to just go ahead and just bet really big, and they folded the straight, which, you know, we both had the same hand, but I was blocking the hands that the board could improve to, and then the board did make those hands possible. I was blocking the trip. So I called pre-flop. I've got 2 pair. I've still got 2 over pair, which is nice. It can make this a good sort of semi-bluffing hand. Unfortunately, we get a pot size bet and a repot, so I'm going to fold, not actually quickly. So, I mean, aces with clubs? No, top set. Okay, even better. And then, like, we look at what this, 3-8 against 8-8, and then the boat. I mean, my first thought was that this player had a set, right? But then they were the razor, right? So what did they have? I guess they had ace, no, display last hand. Yeah, 8-8 with a suited ace-7. So that's a very good hand pre-flop. Makes all the sense. All the sense. Aces with the nut flush draw. I don't know if they play it that way. Not that they shouldn't. All right, we'll bet half pot. I can check this board also. Check, check, raise. What am I blocking? I'm blocking some straight draws from coming in. I'm not really blocking them too much from having the straight draws. And I'm going to bet again and try to get value from a stray 9, which I think will call. I think straights will fold now. I don't necessarily want the straight draws, right? No straights are going to fold. There's no straights are going to be had by anybody. But if they have like Jack 10 or 10-7, then a queen or a 6 give me a boat. That was before. That's not true. What am I talking about? They would give them a boat if they had a 9 and the straight draw. All right. This is a terrible river card. Basically, now I don't have a set. I have the 3 9s on board with pocket 8s. So I still have a boat, but kings beat me, right? So they went runner board trips to beat me. They could have just caught any king. So as you see, they had 15% equity on the flop, and then 10% equity on the turn. So, you know, we put the money in when it was good, and then gave up when we got beat. So that's fine. I don't have any issue with that hand. I don't even think it's all that interesting to mark or review, except for all the incoherent things that I said during the hand. Like, what? Okay. King 6-7. I've thought about taking the YouTube videos and like editing them down and taking out all of the time like this, where there's not a hand that I'm engaged in, and basically making them more like vlog, like poker vlogs. And I think that might be a really good format. Because I think my format right now is not, like, it's one thing to be on Twitch and be just streaming and be like, yeah, you know, we're just going to play one table, we're going to chat, we're going to hang out. And I think it's a good format, right? And I think it works. I think there's some number of people who enjoy it. I enjoy it, and it's been part of my own improvement over the last month and a half. But I think, you know, when you go to YouTube to watch videos, it's not usually to watch like full stream kind of things. And my original idea was like, yeah, I'll just kind of, you know, put that stuff up there. All right, queens with an ace. I think I get to raise most single-suited queens with an ace. If there's any that I fold, it would be this one because it's suited to the queen, not to the ace, and I have a deuce. New player here. Yeah, okay. And I'm going to actually end the session here because it was just very eventful, and we've got a lot of hands to review. 9, 8, 5, 4. I decided to fold. First, I'll look up this spot, but mostly I want to check my... Actually, I do want to look up this spot because I'm the cutoff versus the hijack, and it's 9-8 suited. And I was thinking 9-8, 6-5 double suited. I would either 3-bet or call. And in this spot, I think I would call, but I think 3-bet is probably going to be the play. Yeah, it is. So I was spot on, actually, in 6-5-4 single suited is fold, but 9-8 and then 7-6-5. So any 2 out of 7-6-5. So 4 cards to a 5-card straight. Double suited, sorry. These are all double suited. Is 3-bet call from cutoff versus hijack RFI. Okay, cool. So that was correct. Now I want to go and say, like, but do I raise this hand in the cutoff? And I think it's close. I think maybe bad suit, no, but good suit, yes. Let's see, 9-8 double suited. No, we just fold this, straight up fold it. So this is an interesting spot, right? Where 9-8, 5-4 double suited is fold from cutoff. No RFI. RFI, let's see, 9-8 double suited RFI range is same as 3-bet versus hijack RFI, right? So that's weird, right? Basically, the chart looks exactly the same for 9-8 double suited, whether this player raises or folds. So that's peculiar, right? And if I go back and I look at MP and I see what 9-8 double suited they're going to have, it's going to be exactly the same. And out of position, actually, I'm supposed to 4-bet this hand. So like if it folds to me in the cutoff, not this hand, make the 4 a 6, right? So a double suited 9-high rundown where it's 4 cards to a 5-card straight. I'm actually supposed to raise, and if the button raises, I'm supposed to 4-bet. If the button folds and one of the blinds 3-bets, then I can just call, and now I get to play a pot in position. So I decided to fold this, and that was, that was good. They get some flop that's really good for a pre-flop raiser. They bet, and that's that. All right, 10-8-6. I think this could be a little loose. I gotta double check this. Tens, it's like if it's a smaller pair, I'm folding a combo like this. Let's see, tens with an 8-6. This is a raise. And then if I get 3-bet by the button, I'm supposed to fold. And if I get 3-bet by the blinds, I get to call. So 10-10, 8-6, single suited is RFI from cutoff. We'll say good suit. Bad suit is a fold. Fold versus button 3, and call versus call in position versus 3. 3 exclamation point means 3-bet. It's just a little notation, and I think that's what happened here, right? They did 3-bet, so I do have a call. All right, and on the flop, I flop. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the SPR, right? The SPR is about 7-ish to 1, 8 to 1, 9 to 1, somewhere in there. About 8 to 1, right? Yeah, 8 to 1. So, 8 to 1 stack to pot ratio, that's a kind of medium stack to pot ratio where with a hand like this, I can't just be like, oh, let's just get it in. That would be really, really suspect. Pretty bad, right? But we're deep enough now that it's like they're not going to be able to get it in on the turn, no matter how they bet, right? They would need me to put in an aggressive action to get it in on the flop or the turn. So I'm going to get to play all the streets. So I'm going to be able to put pressure on them in certain scenarios. And that was one of the things I was thinking about was like, yeah, it's not going to be super easy to realize my equity, but because the stacks are deep enough, it's not going to be so easy for them to realize theirs, right? So I think like an SPR of around 1, it's easy for everybody. Like we just get the chips in, we realize our equity. Okay, let's see what happens. Run it out, go. Okay. At an SPR more around 3 or 4, then the pre-flop 3-better can be like, let's make this a 2-street game. They can bet flop and then they can jam turn. Or, they can try and just check raise flop, which I did in another hand, right? Spoiler alert. Although if you've been here the whole time, you've seen it already. So SPR of 4, I'm not saying it favors the 3-better, but it makes it fairly easy for them to make it a 2-street game. Now, once you get past that, once you get to like 6, 7, 8, 13, whatever, now the in-position player is going to get to play all streets, should they so choose. Therefore, it's going to be harder for the out-of-position player to realize their equity, and thus the positional advantage is bigger, right? Because basically, the deeper the stacks are, the higher the SPR, the more the positional advantage is effective. So here I have a good positional advantage with a really small SPR, like 1. The positional advantage would be like irrelevant almost, but I would have a really good shot at just realizing my equity. I'd just be like, yeah, let's just go on the flop. Whereas at this SPR, I can kind of put them in some tough spots. All right. Spoiler alert, I don't, but I could, right? So here they bet 2/3, which is interesting. Let's see. Let's do some math. If I call this, there will be about 50 in the middle. With 50 in the middle and 100 and less than 200 in stacks, they could just go pot jam or 3/4 pot jam and get all the money in, right? So this is a sizing where they can get all the money in by the river. So maybe they want to do that. Maybe they want to do that with kings. What else are they likely to be betting with? They can bet some rundowns that maybe have clubs, like ace, king, queen, jack type hands, right? With like nut clubs, maybe second nut clubs. They can do this with aces with clubs, right? Usually it's going to be ace high clubs. My clubs are usually going to be covered if they have aces with clubs. But, if they have a set of kings, then a club is going to be good. If they have aces with whatever, then an 8 is probably going to be good. A 10 is likely to be good. A 6 is likely to be good. And so I have a lot of out to what, we might be worried like are kind of like second best hands. But the thing in this hand is that those second best hands, because we're deep and I have position, they're going to be a little tricky for me to play, but it's going to be hard for my opponent to like play really true, right? Because my range is going to be kind of confusing to them, I think. And if I had kings with clubs or kings with backdoor hearts, maybe like kings with just the ace of clubs, I might just flat this here, right? Kings with the ace of clubs, maybe I 4-bet pre, I'm not sure, but so I can be slow playing some sets and stuff. Now I turn 2 pair and they bet again. They bet what's this, like 65% pot, like basically 2/3 pot? 70% pot. Okay, whatever. It's a weird bet size, but maybe it's 3/4 after the rake is taken. So, they make this bet, and I'm thinking like, okay, now I have middle 2 pair, so I'm beating ace-ace. So if the board bricks off, I might have like a river hero call, right? And if they check, there's a reasonable chance my hand is good. I still have a flush draw if they have a set of kings. And so I'm pretty happy with my hand here. And again, we're deep, and I'm going to be able to play some rivers against them. And now the board pairs, which makes like ace-ace pretty good. Because if I had like king 8 or just like any king, they're not too worried about 2 pair combos and stuff. I think I got like too much in my head here. And part of it was because the stacks were deep. Maybe part of it was like streaming. I'm not sure. But it feels to me... All right, I'll go through my logic at the table again. My logic at the table was, I think their range is a lot of ace-ace, king-king, and some like busted nut flush draws. Busted nut flush draws, it doesn't really matter what I do here because they're mostly just going to fold those. Unless it's like ace-ace with a nut flush draw. Ace-ace with a nut flush draw should be dissuaded from calling down because they're blocking the nut flush draw, right? If in order to call down, they want me to have some bluffs or some weaker value bets. If they have ace-ace, I'm not value betting anything worse, right? I'm not value betting like ace-king or whatever, or king-8, right? I understand that they have a lot of aces in their range, so they shouldn't be thinking they're going to beat my value range. They want to unblock my bluffing range, right? Which is going to be like nut flush draws. So I was thinking if they have ace-ace and they played it this way, they often have the nut flush draw, in which case they're not going to want to call a bet on the river because they're blocking my bluffing range, and my value range should all be beating them. So then I thought, well, what can they have that beats me? I'm like, well, king-king is a real concern, right? Because they 3-bet pre after I opened the cutoff, so they're going to have a decent amount of king-king. They bet strong on flop, bet strong on turn, and then all the draws missed. Not that there were a lot of draws, right? But there was the flush draw, and then on the turn, there were some straight draws possible. All the draws missed. They're blocking most of the hands they would want to get value from, like ace-king or king-queen, whatever, stuff like that, right? And so kind of inducing a bluff and then like check raising all in seems like a really good play with king-king here. So because I came around to the idea that aces with the ace of clubs should not want to call down and kings should be interested in check raising here, I decided to check this back. And as I'm talking through it, it sounds pretty good to me. Like, it makes sense to me. I think maybe it's okay. I don't know. Maybe I made the right play. I'm going to post this hand on a forum. I think it's very interesting. And I'm very curious how they're supposed to play their range on this river. Like, are they supposed to just bet a lot? Are they supposed to make little blocking bets? Like, try and get called by a king with their ace-ace? I don't know. And did I play the flop and turn fine? So yeah, I think this hand is interesting on every street. Pre-flop, we've got an answer, like the solver likes my line, but it's kind of at the edge of range in both regards, right? In terms of raising and in terms of calling. And then, you know, flop is a little speculative, turns a little speculative, and then river, very, very nitty, just check. And this is like one of the few hands that's like, oh yeah, they could call me with that, right? They 3-bet with aces. They bet aces with a flush draw. They bet aces with a flush draw. They checked the river. And now I can still have nut clubs. They're unblocking that, right? Because they had queen high clubs. So this is the hand that makes sense that I could get value from. But I didn't. I checked it back. I like my logic. I'm not sure if I like my line. I'm very interested in any other opinions on this hand. Okay. This one. Yeah, so this one I cold called. And I think this is definitely fine in this spot with this big blind. However, I'm going to look this up as far as I think it might be right at the edge of playability, right? So maybe I fold this and I call if there's a 10. I don't think I'm 3-betting hands like this very much. Button versus cutoff. We're going to look at jacks single suited with the king 9. Oh, this is just clear call. So I was overthinking it a little too. No, it's jack king 9 single suited is cold call button versus cutoff, good suit or bad suit. We call king 7 jack good suit as well. So we actually call a fair amount of these single suited jacks. And basically, we're only 3-betting when we have an ace. Only 3-bet jack single suited in button versus cutoff RFI. If I'll just say, yeah, if we have an ace. It doesn't have to be suited to the ace. Actually, it prefers not being suited to the ace because those are all raise folds. Boom. Okay, cool. So that hand pre-flop, pretty straightforward. The flop, check, bet, and now I have a decision. It's not that much of a decision because, you know, I'm trying to get better at having this like very clear thought process, right? Where it's systematic. I'm building a systematic thought process. And if anybody has anything to add in terms of like what to put in, what to put into sort of like a flop checklist. Like, so basically first thing is SPR like really big, right? Like what, 17 to 16 to 1, something like that. So we're pretty deep, maybe even 17 or 18 versus this person. So very deep. What do I have? I have a pair of jacks right now. What can I make? I can make a straight. That's about it. I can make a set of jacks, but then a straight would be on board. A 10 would give me the nuts. So I have 4 outs to the nuts. And what am I blocking? I'm blocking the wraps, right? I'm like hardcore blocking the straight draws. And I don't even have backdoor straight draws. So when they bet, I don't like that I mean, first of all, my hand's not that good. But second of all, I'm blocking the hands I want them to have, and I'm unblocking the value hands. So, you know, maybe you can argue for a speculative call if you have like, so if I had like double backdoor flush draws, I kind of like a call here. But as it is, I feel like I have nothing and I fold. And then the queens came out. Oh, and this hand was pretty funny. And they, you know, they had kings, aces, and I had jacks, and then queens came on board. So hilarious. Let's see. Spokal says, I just compared a bunch of similar spots and button versus cutoff. It looks like we mostly flat single suited hands. Yeah. And 3-bet our best double suited rundowns. The best single suited AX rundowns. Also 3-bet. Right. Like ace 8 7 6 double suited, or like ace jack 10 9 double suited, stuff like that. Oh no. Single suited rundowns. Right, ace X single, yeah, so like ace and like a few Broadway card type things or whatever. Today my plan was to study 3-betting more since my 3-betting is only 4.5. Ace 10, 9, 8 single suited, ace 9, 8, 7 single, right, and obviously suited to the ace, right, I imagine. Yeah, that, cool, yeah, I'm my 3-betting is, it's like gone up to like 4, maybe 4.5. This session I bet it was like pretty high. I'm actually gonna let me pop it open. My 3-bet was 33% this session. Yeah, well. Sample size for the hilarity. Yeah, only Natsu gets a 3-bet, of course. Of course. All right, let's but yeah, that's good. And thank you. I'll probably go back through the chat and take those observations and then delve a little bit more into them and play around with it. All right, so I 3-bet this one. This feels like it's that category of you know, single suited ace with a. It's not quite a rundown, but these cards connect pretty well. So I'll check this in the matrix. Small blind versus big blind versus button rather. Ace queen single suited. I'll be surprised if, yeah, this is a 3-bet fold, and Jack 10 or 10-9 are 3-bet calls. So ace queen, Jack 9 single suited is 3-bet fold from small blind versus button. This is actually good suit or bad suit. So even if we're suited to the queen or the jack, we get to 3-bet this. But that's because we're small blind versus big blind, and we're not really going to have much of a flatting range in this spot, right? So yeah, it's interesting how like button gets to flat so many more hands, whereas small blind is like flat, like I'm going to be out of position. Whereas button, we get to play with a high SPR in position. That's pretty nice. All right, so how did I do this hand? Oh, right. Okay. So I was looking at this going like, okay. As the pre-flop 3-better, I'm going to have some top 2 pair. I'll have some sets of queens and jacks, like ace, queen, queen, ace, jack, jack, stuff like that. But mostly, you know, I'm going to have a lot of ace, ace, some king, king, and this isn't going to be a fantastic flop for me. There's going to be a lot of queen, queen, and jack, jack that raise call the button. So it feels like it's sort of like in their domain. So I thought I'm going to probably check this board a lot. And I do have some kind of like, I'm blocking the wraps. So if they have a wrap, I'm blocking some of their equity. And if they take a free card, if I check it to them, which I did, then it's a little less likely that they'll just bank right away, right? So they bet, and my plan wasn't to check call and then play the hand passively. It was to go for the check raise because, yeah, I think they should bet a fair amount on this flop. They did bet. I basically ripped it in, and they re-rip. You know, I didn't quite have they didn't bet enough for me to make an all-in shove. But this happens, and they don't have spades. They did have a wrap. And let's look at... So actually, if I look, like a 9 was one of their outs, right? And an ace was one of their outs. So it was nice that I had those cards in my hand. They weren't totally irrelevant. Also, we both had the same backdoor flush draw, and mine was better. So if we look at the equity calculator, and we yoink, bring it over here, on the flop, you know, we're basically flipping. If I give them, I can't give them the ace of hearts, but I could give them another ace. I mean, it doesn't actually matter the suit, right? It didn't help them at all. So if I give them that, like, oh, their hand gets worse? I guess running deuces was good enough for interesting. That's funny. What do I want to give them? What about like an 8? 8 of hearts, whatever. That makes it less like, yeah. So, I don't know. What about like 6 of hearts, 6 of diamonds, like just some stuff like this. What? Oh, I must have given... What happened? I've got too many 6s. I have 3 6s. Yeah, so there I'm getting crushed, right? But it's like, how often are they going to have bottom set? I think not very. You know, if we look at the flop SPR, it's like 4-1, so it feels like, yeah, if I can get it in with 50% equity, I'm happy to do that. I could have check called, I guess, and then like jammed a turn like this one, but I feel like this is a spot where I can just get it in. And if they have some weaker straight draws, if they have like pair and a straight draw, like king queen 10 or something, or like king jack 10 or queen 10 9 8 or something, actually I don't know how good my equity is against those, but it's probably decent. It might be better than it is here. Long story short, I think there are some hands that I can get it in where I have better than 50% equity too. So okay, next hand. We got a lot of hands in this session. All right, so I have kings with an ace, and I just raise, or I 3-bet and I fold, right? So let's take a look and see if that is correct. I am button versus, if we go back, yeah, so this is weird. There's one blind, so they can only make it 3, so I can only make it 10. So it's button versus cutoff, and I have ace king with the suited ace. Like, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure. Double suited, I would have to imagine. Yeah, so ace 3. This is actually a flat, right? Ace 4 is a raise fold. So this actually is supposed to be flatted here. So we've got ace king king 3. Good suit. Cold call button versus cutoff RFI. So I see ace king king and I'm like, all right, let's go. And this is, I mean, if I pull this thing over here right now, like you'll see basically kings single suited with like anything else that isn't trash gets to flat. And then if you have an ace, you just always 3-bet unless it's suited to the ace with a 3 or a 2, right? So this was kind of an outlier that I don't think I need to stress about. Let's see. I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to say 3-2. So that means with a 3 or a 2, all other ace, king, king, 3-bet this spot. Only continue versus 4-bet with ace, queen through 10. Good suit. Okay. So like ace, queen, king, king double suited is just going to rip it. How can there, yeah, suited to the ace. Ace 10 king king double suited with an ace is going to 5-bet, but mostly we're gonna fold when we 3-bet hands with it like this. So I think this is definitely correct after my slightly incorrect pre-flop, slightly too optimistic, I suppose. Not even optimistic, just like we're supposed to flat a little bit of ace king king, and it's when we have the 3 or the deuce and the suited ace. So this hand didn't play out that interesting. They just bet, and the other person folded. So we'll go to the next hand. And let's see. King, jack, jack 10. Double suited. Looks pretty. I'm going to go ahead and raise. I don't really have anything to look this up on, but like it's a really good hand. And then they call. And here I flop middle pair and this straight draw. Oh, yeah. This hand. Okay, so I think this flop bet's okay-ish. I think checking here is fine as well. It's not a great flop for my range, but it's hard to really pin down what my small blind range is going to be when I raise a player like this calling in the cutoff. So it's hard to be like too specific about like what do I think I'm supposed to do here. Anyway, I bet half pot, which with, middle pair, second pair, so I can beat like ace 10, an open-ended straight draw and a backdoor second nut flush draw. I feel like, I mean, we're deep, and because of that, like maybe check, but, I was a pre-flop raiser. I think they're going to have a lot of just nonsense in their range, and I can get them to fold that, and when they call, I'm going to have some good turn cards. This looks like a good turn card, right? I have a flush draw, second nut flush draw. I still have that open-ended straight draw. And there's still some chance that like my jacks are good. I decided to check. I don't really remember why. I think maybe it was like I didn't want to get raised off my equity. But I think I can probably bet this card again. Maybe get some queen X to shake loose. Maybe fold some, some weaker straight draws. Maybe get called by some weaker straight draws and get value from them. I think my flush draw is usually live here. And my straight out 6 of them they're to the nuts, so, or 7 of them. The ace of clubs gives me a straight and the nuts, but the nuts is because I have king jack of clubs. So I checked, and then I made this weird bet on the river, and like I don't know, it's kind of like maybe just folds. Like if I don't like this bet. I don't know what it's doing. I don't think it's doing anything good. They call and they rivered 2 pair queens and 4s. Would they have folded this on the turn? I don't know. They're loose and passive. Maybe they call. If I potted it, maybe they fold it. Maybe. And then, an ace would have been a nice river card because it would have given them top 2. But I think maybe bet the turn. Probably don't bet river. If I do bet river, just probably don't bet river. I think it's the answer. I think my hand's probably a little too strong to bluff. And doesn't... I mean, it blocks some stuff. But I don't like how I played this hand after the flop. The flop was fine, I think, but like turn and river, eh. All right, so I raise here. Do I get 3-bet? No, but let's just double check. I mean, this has to be an open, right? I mean, in the cutoff, 9's double suited with some connecty stuff. Yeah, clear open, and we get to call a 3-bet. Let's actually just see, like, do I open this in all positions, or do I need, like, 8-7? Yeah, so this is RFI from all positions. So, pretty nice hand. 9-9-8-6 double suited is RFI from all positions. Always call versus 3-bet. Right, it's going to play very well. It's like unblocking all the bigger hands that then we're going to have good implied odds against, I think. So how do we flop? Yeah, this hand's a little more interesting, I think. All right, and this hand kind of led to the last hand, making that goofy thing on the river. Here I do a goofy thing, but I actually like it in this hand. Or I did, but let's review it. All right, check, check. So, you know, I'm going to have top set. I'm going to have middle set. I'm going to have top two, and I'm going to bet all of those about half pot, probably. And I'm going to have some, like, king, queen, jack, 10, you know, wrap type stuff. Maybe I'm going to have, like, ace 5 as well, and I don't know how much I'm going to bet or check that back. But I kind of want some, because I have so many of the nutty hands, I kind of want some more just, like, bluffy bluffs. And this feels like, you know, if I bet here, I can turn a 9, I can turn a 7, I can turn a heart, I can turn a diamond. There's a lot of ways for me to pick up equity and have good barreling opportunities on the turn. So betting this compared to, like, you know, 9-9-4-4 of clubs and you know, and then a couple offsuit cards. This feels like a decent hand to use as a bluff. So I bet half pot. I get one call, and then the turn's an ace of diamonds. So when the turn's an ace of diamonds, I think, okay, I'm probably not going to get them to fold an ace at this point, and they check, but I think they're going to check a lot of ace X, and I have diamonds, but, like, that's not a ton of equity, and if they have aces, like, So I decided to check it back, and then the river's a 4, and they check it again, and all I have is a pair of 9s. I could check this for showdown value, like I have aces and 9s, and they could have, like, queen, jack, 10, and I can win. So part of why I bet here was I was thinking, like, oh, like queen, jack, 10 type stuff I can fold, but, like, I'm beating that unless it's like king, queen, jack, 10 or queen, jack, jack, 10, or, you know, there's a pair with the wrap. But, you know, I just decided, like, all right, I'm going to bet a quarter pot, and maybe you fold your king X, maybe you fold your 10s, jacks, queens, and they did fold. It's a really good chance that I actually had the best hand here. But maybe I didn't. You know, they could fold a king. It's not unreasonable. They could also have a hand like kings and 5s that they flopped, and then just be like, you know, but win by accident if I just check it back. So I'm okay with this thing on the river. I like some of these small bluffs, particularly against, like, particular types of players. I don't really want to just go doing them randomly all the time. Okay, I raise. This is obviously, I mean, I'm not going to look this up. Actually, I'm going to look it up. The question was, like, do I 4-bet this? And button, ace jack double suited with a 10-7. Yeah, so this is going to be raise 4-bet, good suit or bad suit. So I was thinking about that at the time. Let's see, 4-bet, button, period. Okay, so I was thinking about that at the time, and I wanted to verify that. Like, is that correct? So I flop top pair, top kicker, and 2 backdoor flush draws, one of them to the nuts. They check, I check it back. I had seen some wild play from this player, so I thought, all right, let's let them bluff. And then the turn's a 6, and they check, and I'm like, let's let them bluff. What's the worst that could happen? The river's a 5, and they bluff, right? So cool, but, like, pots, I don't know. Like, I called, and I have the 7. That was one aspect to it. Like, I'm blocking, you know, straights. I'm blocking, like, top 2 or whatever, jack 6, jack 5. But I think what I should have done, I think my flop check was sound against this player. But then once they didn't bet the turn, like, I should have just taken the pot. But instead I checked it back. I tried to induce a bluff, and I induced a boat is what happened. So they got bailed out on the river. But, like, I don't know. I like my idea behind the flop. The turn, I think, is where I went wrong, and I should have just been like, all right, whatever, just give me the pot. And then the river, when they potted it, and this made a straight, I probably should just fold. Although, you know, at the same time, like, they hit a 2-outer, so I'm not going to worry too much. Here I 3-bet. I'm out of position. I think this is questionable. So I thought this was pretty questionable. This is big blind squeeze against cutoff, so we'll look that up. and we'll look at ace king single suited, and this is just a call. This is clearly just a call. So ace king queen 10 single suited is call, big blind versus cutoff squeeze spot. Good suit or bad suit. Only ace king queen jack, jack 10, good suit, 3-bet this spot. But then let's look at double suited. I think double suited probably is going to be a 3-bet. We're gonna, I went away from the spot. Okay, ace king double suited with queen and a 10. Yeah. This is a clear, okay. So ace king queen 10 double suited is 3-bet call from in same situation. Okay, so I was right that I was wrong, right? And if I did it with the queen 10, like ace with suited to the ace, but like ace king queen 10 suited to the ace, I don't think that would have been that bad. The fact that it's not suited to the ace, I think makes this just pretty clear mistake. I do flop top pair and a gut shot. I decided to check it. I don't think this is great for my range. You know, I have the king blocker. If everybody checks, I can maybe start doing some stuff. This person decides to pot it, and this is where I got this read that they're a little bit of a wild and crazy player. They pot it and they snap it off. They just like snapped, and then this player had ace queen jack 7, which is top pair top kicker, not a lot else, and the other player had ace king 10 9. So you know, on the flop they had a backdoor flush draw, a gut shot, and middle pair. So they just potted it, right? They're just like, let's just get it in. So, you know, maybe a little much there. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they thought our checks like represented a lot of weakness, whereas we both had top pair, top kicker. But they backdoored the flush, so who's to argue? All right, that's it for today. If you're on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you would like to subscribe. On Twitch, we are going to do a raid now.